So your boat of choice now is not an X45.
No, it's not. I love that boat though.
Yeah.
Love that boat.
I remember that boat. I do remember. I forgot about it. I do
Uh-huh.
remember that boat.
Yeah. Love the boat. Then we eventually went into Nautique, and mainly because our dealer, Action Watersports in Arizona, they had both Mastercraft and Nautique at the time. So we went from an X45 to an X30 Mastercraft, and that was a little easier because it did have the surf tabs, but we still switched the, we still listed it even with the surf tabs.
Yeah, still went old school.
Yeah. And then our first Nautique was a 2014 G21, and when we went to the Nautique, that's when we knew that this was the boat that we needed for the school, because you fill it up and then you push the button to go left or right. So then it didn't matter if you were goofy or regular, and we didn't have to waste time switching it from side to side. We just push the button and it works on both sides.
Yeah. That was an amazing thing. I mean, I know when surf systems first came out, they were kind of a bit of a novelty. It didn't really, you still had to list the boat. It didn't quite work the way it was supposed to. And then, right around that time, between 2015 and 2016, it was like, oh my gosh, this is better than the old way. And now you just push a button. And I don't know if you remember all the stuff that RJ and I were doing, trying to move water really fast and switch quick, and it was a lot of work. But then when this all started working, that was just definitely a game changer. You got to hand it to Malibu for starting that way forward with the Surfgate. But so tell me why you love your, let's talk about the G23 first, and then we'll get to the Paragon. Tell me what it is that you really loved about your G23.
Well, I listened to your podcast, last one, your first one on the porch, and I think, you talked about the different sizes of the boats, right? A 20, all the way up to now a 26. There's 26 feet boat. So, but we found the sweet spot was about the 23 foot boat, just like what you said. You get over that, then you got to start putting more weight on it, and sometimes more weight doesn't mean better wave, right? So
it's like that you start to get into the diminishing returns.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why we kind of settled on the G23. Now, if you gave me a G25, I probably would
you'd be
turn
all
it
right.
down.
Yeah.
I'd figure it out.
Figure out the weight situation. Is what you're saying.
Exactly. But as far as settling in with the Nautique brand, I think that kind of goes back to, and I think a lot of people experience this, is your dealer, right?
Yeah.
And we found a good dealer with Action Watersports. They've taken care of us for many years. And we've kind of grown with the Nautique product as well. I think we've kind of helped them see some things that might work better, and then some of the things that they've come out with actually works really good for what we do as well. So I think that's what kind of got us into that lane with Nautique. We're taking care of them; they're taking care of us for sure. Of course, the easeability of just pushing the button and having a good wave each time.
Yeah. And consistent. You go back and forth, and it's the same.
It's the same wave.
Yeah.
Now, when you start, loading the boat up with people, then you do have to adjust. But I've done it so much, I can, like you can look back and see if the wave is right. You can just tell.
You can tell when somebody's riding if they have less push or more push. You just you get that after a while. You get that instinct. Yeah, exactly. So, I know for me, Nautique is definitely high up on my list. I definitely like the Supra more, but we've talked about this before, is that there are a lot of wake surf boat manufacturers out there. But I think the separation of where I think the best wake surf boats, it has to do with the engineering. If you are in a Nautique, and also if you spend time with the Supra, there is every year there's this iterative, progressive betterment of everything. Not just the interior and stuff like that. I mean, obviously there and bigger screens and that stuff. But I mean, like little changes in the hull design, little changes in the surf system, and you can see that those changes were done to, like I remember when the Nautique had a problem with the spray on the side, and then it went away because they fixed it.
Yep.
And Supra on our side, I remember there was a time when you'd go from side to side, you still had to list over a little bit because you had to clean up the wave, and then all of a sudden in 2018 that just went away. They fixed it, and there still isn't. It's not like you can put a boat like you would do with an F1 car. You'd put it in a wind tunnel and figure that all out. They have to go out on the lake, and they have to test them over and over and over again. And most boat companies really just don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love. And I feel like Supra and Nautique are definitely at a level doing that I think is really far superior than most other boat manufacturers. Although I'm sure there's a lot of people that would get mad at me saying that, but that's okay. I mean, everybody has their opinions. But what are the reasons why you like the Nautique Wave or the Nautique surf system better than other boats?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing I think is in the wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ease of it, to me. Like I said, it's easy. You push a button, you fill up, and it's kind of like what you talked about on your last podcast, is that the ballast system, it's three things for me, right? The ballast system, the hull, okay, and the Nautique has a heavy hull, big hull, right? Yeah. And how it interacts with the Nautique surf system, right? And it all works together, okay? The ballast system, the hull design, and the surf system work together. And it's like you say, they work together to put that boat in the position, right, to make the best wave. Now, of course, the best wave is, it's different for different people, right? Smaller people don't need the big, long wave. Big people, taller, heavier riders need that.
Are you
big,
saying
long
are you
wave.
saying that I'm fat, Mike?
Yes, no.
It's okay, Mike. You can say it. That's all right.
What I'm saying is, boats nowadays can give you a ride.
Yeah.
Right? Where before, couldn't.
No.
Right? So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's something and I talked about on my last podcast, and I'm glad you're saying that too, because there is no replacement for a well-engineered hull. You cannot slap a surf system on any boat and it's going to work.
Right.
Yeah. And if that company is not testing and iterating over their hull design to constantly improve it, and they have to do it with little changes, then you're just going to end up with a crappy wave that it'll form because you slapped a surf system on it. And that was the other thing that we talked about too, is that the surf system should be putting the boat in the position to make the best wave, because it's the hull that should be doing as much of the work as possible. Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that I know that a lot of people don't realize is that so we could both love our boats, but your wave is different than mine. Nautique wave is very different. What are the differences between the Nautique wave and the Supra wave?
I think there's a difference in the surf wave behind all Nautique boats that's different from all other boats, correct? And some people like it, some people like the other better. And I think it does have a lot to do with the hull design. But you'll notice on a Nautique wave, when it comes off the back of the boat, it comes up pretty quick.
Yes.
And it's steep.
Yes, it's
because of
steeper.
that very, very quickly. And so what you'll notice from that is you'll notice, I call it more of a crisper wave. You'll notice that lip of the wave is very noticeable going all the way back, correct? So with that steepness is the steeper face is a little more challenging to other riders than some of the boats where it comes off the back of the boat and it's a little bit flatter and it's gradual as it stands up going towards the back.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference from the Nautique to every other manufacturer out there.
Yeah. I would say the old Taigas had a kind of a steeper kind of way too, although the newer ones are more towards the other way. But that does make the Nautique unique in that wave is steeper, and it depends what you like. If that wave to somebody who wants to hit that thing and really, like especially getting air and stuff, it's really a great wave. And then for other people that want a smoother transition, then a Supra or like a Centurion, it's that type of wave where the lip is more in the back.
Definitely.
But they're really different, and you really have to try them to really understand the difference. I definitely prefer, and I think we prefer that Supra style wave even over Centurion, and then over Nautique. But at the same time, I think the Nautique makes a wave that is uniquely Nautique, but and it also seems to just keep getting, that same wave gets better, just like I think the Supra wave keeps getting better. They're both just getting better as they go along.
Yeah,
which is a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And I think different manufacturers are looking at what's good about certain boats and what's not so good, what people don't like about them, and they're all trying to get to that little special type of where the transition's nice and it's got a good lip and it's got good push, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a pretty difficult balance, and I think the excuse me, I kind of just lost my train of thought. But I know when we would do polar bear events, everybody liked the Nautique as far as it's just the fit, finish, the engineering of it. But some people loved that wave and some people didn't. But the same thing went for the Supra. It's not universal one way or the other. But yeah, it's definitely something that you have to try. And but it definitely points out how important it is to understand that just because a manufacturer creates a boat and shows a really cool promotional video of a wave, unless you ride it and really spend time enjoying that wave or spending time with people that do, then you realize that they're definitely not all the same.
We love when we go out and ride if we have other boats that can join us, and we do this thing, we call it 2-boat surfing or even 3-boat surfing, where everybody will get 15 minutes on each wave. So we'll come in, we'll meet, and then we'll go out and ride for 15 minutes, and then we'll come in, and then riders will switch to the other boats, and then we'll go out for another 15 minutes and come back and do it again. And it's everybody loves it, and they go, well, yeah, I like my wave, but then it's fun to see if I can, it's challenging to see if I can kind of conquer this wave too, or the things that I like about this wave, as well. So.
And sometimes you can like them equally as much. It's just they're just different.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was some of the funnest times that we used to have back on Oroville, is when we were there and we would have. One friend had a Nautique, another one had a Centurion, and we had a Taiga at that time, and then later had a Supra. And so many times we had like 4 or 5 different manufacturers and like 30 people amongst all those boats. And we would go out and surf and do the same thing, and then we'd all kind of back up to each other and all switch.
That's where the polar bear kind of got
That
its,
is. That's
its
where we
idea, right?
Yeah, started that. But you know, it's great that that we can all get on the lake together and have different boats, respect each other's boats, unless you had something that made a really crappy wave, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then nobody would volunteer to ride.
Yeah, right. You'll know right away when you're in those groups.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, no, you have fun in your boat.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, you go ahead. You have fun in your boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just enjoy it. And then they're always trying to ride on your boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing you were talking about, and I know we kind of left this subject, but you were talking about the G23 and the Nautique, and then you were talking about the leap to the Paragon. I've heard, we've had a chance to be around and beyond the G23 wave,
Yeah.
but we haven't had a chance to get on the Paragon wave.
Yeah.
Tell me what the real difference is between the G23 and the Paragon.
Yeah. So the new G23 has the Paragon hull now.
Yeah.
So you can almost replicate the Paragon wave with this they've added supplemental tanks to the G23, so you can add more weight to
Because the Paragon's just
compensate
heavier.
for it's heavier with the tower and where the battery is, and then the bigger engine. You know, all that adds that weight in the right places, right?
Yeah.
But the Paragon, you know, the two things that have been most exciting to Angie and I is the Paragon and then the Diamond board. And we call it, you get the smile, right? You're on the Paragon, on the Diamond board, you get the Diamond smile, the Paragon smile. Angie and I, we were fortunate enough to get invited to the unveiling of the Paragon, the G23
Oh, that sounds
Paragon
fun.
at Callaway Gardens
Okay.
on Robin Lake. And we actually got to ride behind it too.
Oh, wow.
So we got to see the unveiling, we got to ride behind it, and it was just like, you know, the feeling that's like, oh my gosh, here's a boat that you almost can't fall out of, you know,
Wow.
the wave. It's that good. So the Paragon, the boat weighs 7,200 pounds dry, right?
That's a fat boy.
It's a big one. It'll push you along.
I'm sure it would.
Promise you. But it only holds 2,200 pounds of ballast,
Yeah.
right? And if you start putting people on it, I don't even fill it up completely. Sometimes I'm out there with 1,500 pounds of ballast or
Gotcha.
even less. So, but they really did, you know, that one, of course, the Paragon, a model of excellence. It really is, you know, the boat, the wave, everything. Of course, it's about another mortgage payment.
It's about $1 billion.
to get into that.
Yeah,
Correct, yes.
they're expensive. Yeah, and that's another.
I had to sell my house to be able to afford one of these.
That's another thing you could talk about when we talk about the length of the boat and you have a diminishing return. There's also the price of the boat where you have a diminishing return, and then you end up saying, "Man, just give me a Moomba Max. That's all I need." But you know. Yeah, they're beautiful and they're fun to be in, fun to ride.
Yeah,
yeah. So I'll have to get on the Paragon one of these days. And I know for me, like one of the things, like I forgot to bring up the Paragon, but the other thing I wanted to bring up too is one of the things that I cannot get away from with our Supra. One, I love the wave, but it's the auto wake. I love that system, and I don't know what it would take. You'd have to pry that away from me because I
explain the auto wake. I know you might have talked about it in one of your one of your video blogs, but your podcast you didn't explain what exactly the auto wake does.
Well, so I guess the best thing, like you mentioned a bit ago, you said that in the boat, and then you start, like, you know exactly where to put everybody, and then you know, you make your wave and you feel it, you see it, you can tell what's going on back there. And then somebody or different people come on or they move around, and then you know how to adjust the wave to get, well, basically what auto wake does is instead it uses sensors so that it knows exactly what your pitch, exactly what your roll is. And so if you have people that come and get in your boat and move around, if you say my perfect wave is at 9.5 degrees of pitch and let's say, you know, 4 or 5 degrees of roll on the goofy side, then when they come in, it is going to turn on pumps and move, and it's going to put that back, so you don't have to do anything.
I gotcha.
So
right.
it always is going to keep that. And you know, even for a guy like me, who knows exactly what to do, I still use it because it's fantastic to the point where I can just sit there and go, and people can move around. And because also Supra uses the dual pump system, so they move the water very fast.
Good.
It's really within 30 seconds to a minute, you can have a big guy move and it'll adjust and get it back the way you need it to be. And the other thing that's really great too, you talked about if you get too many people in, well then you have everything filled up and you have all this ballast. Sometimes it's too much ballast. What do you do? Well, the other thing you can set is called amplitude. So you can just say, okay, I want my boat to be at 80% amplitude or 90% amplitude, and then a whole bunch of people get in, and you can just dial that down, and it will
and so
lower.
That's the amount that it's down
It's
under
the displacement. It's the amount that's in the water. So what happens is you just say, I'm going to dial down my amplitude. So like all of a sudden we can take on 5 people, and we just had a perfect wave. So I'll just dial that down a little bit. That'll throw some water out, and then I still have that same perfect wave. And it allows you to always have that consistency. And that's the thing that I love the most, because the best thing about wake surfing is sharing it with other people, and it's the hospitality part.
Yeah.
I am here to make you the perfect wave that's going to make you smile.
Right.
There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
And being able to do that is fantastic. And so I do that all the time. And I have another video that I wanted to talk about that on another video, but where you use the lead. So if you have some extra lead in the boat, it allows you to not always have the ballast full, but it gives you the flexibility no matter what conditions. If I only have 1 person in the boat or 2 people in the boat, I can use all the ballast if I need to and have the amplitude all the way up. Bunch of people come in, dial it down. I don't have to do anything else. It's still going to keep that pitch and roll. Yeah. And there's lead in the boat, but I just won't fill up all the water. So, you just get that perfect consistency.
And then if you do a transfer to the other side, same thing, it'll kick into.
So it holds those settings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one, you can have many profiles, but whatever profile you have, it remembers what you want the pitch and roll to be on one side versus the other. So when you switch, it will then keep
adjust
it
to
there.
Get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's the thing. And when it first came out, like if you turned on auto wake, it wouldn't start working until you got up to speed and got a wave. And that was really kind of a bummer, because you'd get up and you're kind of riding, and the waves, it might not be perfect yet, and then it kind of gets perfect.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah. It'll take a while.
Exactly. And so they created a way, they call it a predictive system. So what happens is, even when the boat's just sitting there waiting, auto wake system is smart enough to know that based on the way the boat is just resting in the water, how it's going to be when you get it up to speed. So it will make the adjustments so that when you get going, it's already ready.
Yeah.
And that was one of the amazing things for me to see, because I talked to the engineers about that, because I said, that could not have been easy. How did you do? Yeah. And you know what they did? They basically sat in a boat in every possible situation and basically documented.
It's all data points.
All data points.
Yeah.
All data points. So you could think about that work that would go into that. And that's the kind of stuff that you don't see from other manufacturers.
Right.
I think that makes a difference.
No, right. And those are the type of things. So we actually got to talk to the engineer too on the Paragon, right? And take a look at what they did with the hull, to shape it, and how the surf system basically is an extension of the hull, right? And then just like you're talking about, when that surf system comes out, and then you have a picture that shows you what the wave is supposed to look like right here, right? Or at least from the side angle. This is what the wave's supposed to look like. And you go, it's not steep enough. You just like the BMW, you turn the thing, and it puts it back, and you look back and you go, yeah, there's the wave. So it's amazing that what they've done with the engineering and the technology of these boats. It's just it's awesome.
And that's a perfect example of engineering, when you're taking two completely separate things, but you integrate them in a way that makes them sing together. Because, you know, that's when you see other manufacturers, they just take somebody else's surf system and they put it on. You can't get that.
Right.
When you know, Supra or Nautique, when they're actually manufacturing and testing and iterating these things as a whole, not separately.
Yeah.
It's just a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. I almost wish we talked about that then, but I'll have to put in the notes that if you want to, you know, here's where we talked about Supra and Nautique, and then there's another spot where we talk about the end. But that's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, I was thinking we've come a long way from just back in the EWT, the Endless Wave Tour. You know, we've come a long way with the technology and the ease of just pushing a button and having it all done for you.
Could you imagine if we had that back then?
Oh gosh, things would have gone a lot quicker.
Oh man, do you just remember some of those days?
Well, I remember in Colorado, right?
Oh yeah.
Chase Hazen, one of his first ones in Colorado, we did, and the boat wouldn't get up to speed because it was so hot and high altitude.
That's right. I remember, and then we found out later we couldn't figure out exactly, because this boat has been working so good, and it was somebody pulled it up on the trailer and chewed it up.
Oh, that's
so
right.
So the prop was all chewed up too, and oh man, and you just feel so bad when you mess up. You know, those were good times though.
Yeah.